Far from the traffic and commotion of Washington's urban centers, the northeast corner of the state holds on its sparsely populated frontier. To many who live here, the mountainous landscape and small towns share more in common with the rural communities of the Rocky Mountains to the east than with Washington's urban west side. Those who call this corner of the inland northwest home are blessed with an abundance of natural resources, plentiful and diverse wildlife, and an unprecedented quality of life. Three major rivers, the Kettle, Columbia, and Pend Oreille, carve their way through fertile farm and ranch land and several million acres of productive forest lands. At the center of this timber-rich corner of the state, the 1.1 million acre Colville National Forest has provided jobs, clean water, and enjoyment for generations of Northeast Washingtonians.
Well, the Colville National Forest is kind of interesting. The whole western half of it used to be the reservation for the Colville Confederated Tribe, and around 1900 the miners discovered gold in the north half of that reservation, and within a year or two Congress had taken all that away from the Colville Tribe and turned it into private land. And there was a big gold rush. Republic was a huge gold mining town, and then the national forests were established a number of years after that. And so the context is that miners and the tribe people were there, ranchers started moving in, and then the timber industry started in. And really the conservation community was part of the Back to the Lander movement up there.
The Colville National Forest was designated in 1906 at a time when some ranchers, loggers, and miners were already making their living off lands that had once been home of several Native American tribes. There was conflict early on between those already using the forest and the new public land managers. Yet it remained in the public's trust, managed for multiple benefits that had supported local communities for the past 100 years.
We're up here in Northeast Washington off the Columbia River at a place called Bull Hill. And my great-grandfather came here in 1903 and homesteaded, and we've been running cattle on this ranch ever since. We've never been a year without him.
I've lived in this area here for 90 years now, and just before World War II, that I was working for the Forest Service. I was on White Mountain, and it was just a great summer. I really enjoyed that.
Well, back then they were skidding with horses, so you didn't want the mills too far. So usually 160 acres is what they would treat, and then they would move the mill. My grandfather took a liking to cutting trees and making lumber, and just a passion for the forest.
We actually have had our allotment on the National Forest since 1911. There was probably cattle running out there before that, but it wasn't, we didn't have a permit, so to speak, and we've ran cattle ever since.
We went overseas in 1944, and I spent a year and a half there in France and Belgium. Didn't get into Germany, but you know, I saw what was going on over there during the war, and also I just had an appreciation for these mountains here.
My grandfather came to Colville probably in the early 30s and started up shake and shingle mills that were portable, and later built a sawmill operated off of steam power. And he stayed in the business till during the war, and he lost his only son during the war.
You know, we look at our allotment as you know, pretty much the same way we look at our private land. We care for it, we take care of it. It's our future. If it doesn't prosper and stay healthy, then we don't either. So we're pretty particular about that.
The good thing of the forest here, it's a diversified forest with many species: white pine, spruce, lodgepole, fern, larch ponderosa pine. So we cut a lot of high grade, but we saw the need for small logs back in the early 70s.
Probably in the 1970s, I began to be aware of the changes that were going on with the management of the National Forest here. And in 1976, a few of us here decided we had to do something about getting our input for the planning, and so we decided we had to have an organization to speak out. So we got together and expressed our concerns to each other, and we had another meeting, and after 2 or 3 of those, we made a name for our group, the Kettle Range Conservation Group. Pretty soon we had a couple of hundred people here that were identified with the group, and we began to make ourselves known.